Hi, everybody. I'm Frank Stanisci of Candid Frank Live, where you'll find us airing our views here on the Spanglish World Network on Zingo TV channel 250. Please remember to download the Zingo TV app at the respective app stores for iOS and Android devices. While you download, make sure you rate and leave a comment. Both apps are absolutely free. Zingo TV is available on Google Chromecast, Amazon Fire, Fire TV sticks, Roku sticks, and also on all smart TVs 2016 forward. Thank you for joining us. And my partner here, of course, is Aaron William Freeland. And Aaron, how's your day going?
My day's been going all right. My godson is in town. He's doing a training session before he takes up a full-time job just north of the city. So we're going to be popping out after the show is done to have dinner with him.
Oh, that's nice. A
Yeah.
little familial companionship never hurts.
Mhm.
Okay, so it finally happened. Um, we are at the point where we're revisiting where the Argos were infamously last year. There are differences, but there are similarities. The similarities are they beat the Ottawa Red Blacks to get to the Eastern Final. They didn't have to do that last year. Another team had to work its way, Montreal, to the Eastern Final. So Toronto now is going to Montreal to play the Eastern Final after beating the Red Blacks, who for many, it looked as though the Red Blacks had figured out the Rubik's Cube that is the Argo team and were I think it's fair to say at the beginning of the game, Aaron, they were dominant. They had their way with Toronto at the
I
beginning.
think that's a very safe thing to say. Uh, was not a good start of the game for Toronto fans for sure. The fact that they jumped out to an early 10-0 lead was something that was a source of consternation for Toronto fans. Certainly, I know I was feeling it.
They were having a problem of holding the lead here. They were looking for a lead.
Yeah, and this is one of those things where it's just like, oh, I don't know if this is going to go exactly the way that we hope it's going to go, but we'll see if they get rolling.
And then, of course, the second started to tick away on the first half. And inexplicably, and I think it's a fair word to use, inexplicably, the Ottawa Red Blacks decide to try an onside kick when they're ahead 10-0.
I'm not the greatest CFL fan. I am not an award-winning CFL football strategist. I was genuinely puzzled by why they were trying to do that. So I don't know if maybe you could explain it to me like I'm
Oh,
five.
hell no. No, no, don't drag me down that road. No, 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 no. It was something that it befuddled us up in the press box. I don't think anybody in press row understood why they were doing that. Were they attempting to bury the Argos in the first half? But that would have been the first half. A lot can happen in the second half. I truly did not understand why they were doing it, and nobody really asked the coach. Well, they asked him why he did it, but I didn't really hear an answer that satisfied me in regards to, oh, that explains it. No, it was a thought they had, and one that regrettably had the worst case scenario result. I mean, it couldn't have gone worse than that.
It sounded like it was one of those situations where it was a good idea, but it turns out the bed was on fire when I laid down on it.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, you just can't explain what you do.
Guess what they put the fire on the bed out with?
Their playoff hopes.
Oh man, oh man. That if you're an Ottawa fan, that's something that's going to be memorable, and that's going to sting a little bit when people start asking themselves, could this team have done better with a different coach? Because that's what it's going to do, right? It's going to raise that question. You go, well, how can he make such a a weird decision, and weird again. I don't understand what he thought. Like you do those kinds of kicks because you're desperate, right? Not because you want to give the team a chance, the opposition an opportunity for a gift, which is what they ended up doing.
Well, I'm thinking the idea might have been turn it over so that we recover it to further establish dominance and then pad our lead. But
The odds of them getting more than 3 points on the play to take that much of a chance, because the Argos did only thing they could do: recover the football and go for a field goal. It wasn't like they had, the 3-minute drill was not in the cards. There was no 3-minute drill. It was seconds. And so therefore, somebody was going to get points, however that played out. What I don't understand is how they didn't think that 50% of the chance was, and really more of a chance was, for the Argos to recover the ball in good field position, because the odds on winning the experiment on an onside kick, or on an onside kick, we know the odds. It's like 80% that you're not going to succeed. So I guess they were hoping for the element of surprise, I guess.
We'll call it the Spanish Inquisition play because nobody expects it.
Well, it was, you know what? The Argos then came into the second half, and it's like they discovered their defense, especially their defense. They discovered their defense. And of course, Kelly made some great, we talk about this team having game-breaking plays, that the defense has done it over the years under Mace, and now the tandem of their defensive coordinators are making big plays. But I think Kelly came in there and made a couple of really nice tosses. Some receivers made some great catches. And with the little time that they had possession of the ball, they scored a lot of points.
Outscoring the other team 38-15 in the second half is, I think, a very effective way to win a football game.
They probably only had possession of the ball for 15 seconds. No, just kidding. It was the opposite of the previous game. The previous game, they were going into the third quarter, and there was no way Ottawa was going to beat the Argos on time of possession. And the Argos just got into the third quarter last time. This time, maybe I'll look at it and the time of possession. I just don't think they had the ball very often, and it was a game that tied the overall record of points scored in a playoff game.
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely high scoring for sure. I mean, McManus himself had 10 tackles and an interception. That was huge. The fact that Drew Brown set a record with 60 pass attempts in a playoff game for 476 yards and 3 touchdowns is huge, especially with his 39 plus completions. That, this game was, for lack of a better term, just all guns blazing. It was, let's get rid of everything we have in our arsenal. It doesn't matter where we're standing at the end of this. We've got a week to recover, and go back at it again. But it just unbelievable. A couple of great picks late, and that's all she wrote.
So I have it here. 39 minutes and 17 seconds by Ottawa to Toronto's 20 minutes and 43 seconds. That's almost a 20-minute advantage in a 60-minute game.
I'm curious as to why Ottawa wasn't able to do more. I mean,
well, because they had to work the ball downfield, which they did excellently. Their quarterback and their offense did what you're supposed to do: work the ball downfield, get first downs. Second and long, they converted on second and long a couple of times. The Argos this year have had difficulty slowing down or stopping second and long, and they did have problems in this game as well. But the Argos, it was big plays for them. It was the big plays that was really the difference, Aaron, between these two teams on this evening and or afternoon. It was a game that saw the Toronto Argonauts and the talented receivers they have do what talented receivers do, like them or not. Chad Kelly, not every Argo fan is a fan of his, his problems that he's had. But you got to give the kid credit. He made some great tosses, uh, had some escapes under pressure, created some plays under those conditions. Um, and the defense had a tough first half, but in the second half, there were a couple of times they could have really buried Ottawa earlier.
Yeah.
And they look good. The defense looked good. The offense looked good. The special teams is one that a lot of times it looks better than all those other two. This time they didn't need them to do anything spectacular, but they did create good field position. The kicking game and special teams did give the Argos some good field position that they could work with, and in essence were the seed for some of the great plays that they made.
No, I'm just actually really grateful to see the defense actually reading the offensive setup and keying on that for a couple key interceptions way late in the game. Benji Franklin reading Brown's passer and INT in a 71-yard run back was definitely awesome as well. I think that put the final nail in the coffin at 58-32. The fact that it ended up 58-38 at the end of the day doesn't really matter. They had enough of a lead by that point that even if Brown did find Addison in the end zone, it wasn't going to make a difference.
Can we agree, Aaron, that Drew Brown proved to us that he's a really good starting quarterback in the Canadian Football League?
Oh, for sure. I mean, let's be honest here. The final score doesn't necessarily reflect how well Brown actually played.
Right, and what he was up against.
Exactly, which is a world championship style defense that has the ability to stifle the run and is good at finding receivers to cover.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, not his fault. He was just outmatched by a better defense.
No, absolutely. Big play offense was the difference, and it was one of those games that you don't like to lose, but it's what happened, and it was a very interesting game. I mean, I'm going to say it again, 58-38. I mean, Aaron, how often can you score 38 points in a game and lose by 20?
That is, yeah.
How often does that happen?
That is the beauty of the CFL, sir.
Well, it was a really good game. For Ottawa's fans, not a really good game, but I'm sure. As I said, the one thing that might be hanging out there is the coaching decision before halftime. Saskatchewan and BC played, and sadly, BC, the home town for the Grey Cup, the dreams of winning a Grey Cup at home are definitely done. VA was okay. I wouldn't really say that he had a great evening. I don't know.
I mean, he was averaging about 60%, 20 of 33, 317 yards, 2 touchdowns, 9.6 yards on average per throw, and his longest was 56. The other part of that, of course, is the 3 interceptions.
There it is. There it is.
That's the issue right there.
There it is.
And honestly, more consistent scoring. Saskatchewan managed to take the ball down the field, and when they got into the red zone, managed to take advantage of and make sure that their opportunities stuck.
Stand back ran for 27 yards.
Yeah.
For 70. The running game matters.
And then friend of the show, Trevor Harris, had himself a day with 26 of 33 for 279 yards, 1 touchdown, 8.5 yards on average, and a long of 31. But, at the end of the day, 2 touchdowns by A.J. Ouellette definitely helped. The fact that Trevor Harris managed to keep it clean by not throwing any interceptions was another one of the factors that made this a punishing game for the hearts and souls of the BC Lions faithful, for sure.
So we call it a +1, while Vernon Adams was a -1. One more interception than touchdowns, and Harris the other. And this is what we talk about more and more now in the Canadian Football League. Not only do you need a quarterback that can run your offense and make it go, they've got to play quickly and not make mistakes. And mistakes are deadly in the Canadian Football League. And we saw that in both games. Essentially, that's what it came down to. And now we've got the Hyper Banjo Bowl coming up next, Saskatchewan and of course Winnipeg. Um, Two teams that have always, when they meet, considered those games of utmost importance. And this time, it really is, because now this Banjo Bowl, the winner goes to the Grey Cup.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you've got the classic Toronto-Montreal rivalry, and yeah, the Banjo Bowl is going to be huge.
Yeah,
That's going to be some required viewing on Saturday evening for sure.
yeah. And sadness, I was hoping to go to the Montreal game, but they don't have enough room for the media in Montreal. So it is what it is. Um, I don't know. Maybe I'll end up going. Maybe I won't. But I was looking forward to going. But I'll just be like everybody else and enjoy it from home. Not worry about traveling to Montreal, 5 hour drive there and back.
There were not a lot of tickets that were left, and not a lot of reasonable enough hotel rooms to coerce me to go.
Yeah.
A lot of the site seats that I saw left were singles, not a lot of doubles spread out. But like, good for them on the attendance side of it. That's fantastic. But at the
Well,
same time,
it's not a big league stadium.
no.
Let's be clear. As much as bad as it is that at BMO there are too many seats, I don't know if that's worse than not enough.
I'll be honest with you, I would rather have too many seats and not be able to fill than not be able to accommodate all the fans that wanted to see the game.
There it is. I agree with
That's
you
just me
100%.
personally, though.
Not being able to satiate the interest is not a very good thing.
For
Nope,
sure.
sorry, we're full. Well, it is what it is. Gotta love the game. The game will be a good one. We'll be all there. Not there necessarily there, but we will be prepared to watch the game, and I think we're going to be treated to a pretty good game. I think we will be treated to a pretty good game. We'll be feted quite well with some really good football, and I look forward to it. Let's go over to the National Hockey League where the Toronto Maple Leafs play, and let's start with the Habs and Crosby helped beat Montreal 3-1.
Yeah, Sid, the aging kid, doesn't seem to have any problems finding the back of the net. He scored 2 goals, and the Pittsburgh Penguins beat the Habs 3-1 on Saturday. Blake Lizotte scored an empty net goal in the final minute for Pittsburgh. Chris Letang, playing in his 1100th regular season game, finished with an assist against his hometown team. And Alex Nedeljkovic stopped 25 shots for the Penguins. Christian Dvorak, on the flip side of the coin, scored for Montreal, and Sam Montembeault made 21 saves. Montreal has lost its third straight game now. The Canadiens allowed at least 6 goals in their previous 2 losses. So this continues that trend of allowing around 3 goals a game. The Penguins have won their second straight following a season-opening 6-game losing streak. So they look like they're finally getting on the back on the right side of the ledger.
Forsberg post shutout as Sens beat the Kraken 3-0.
So yeah, the common phrase to describe the Ottawa Senators 2-1 loss to the Rangers was the Ottawa squad that got goalied because Shesterkin stopped 40. The next night, however, playing against the Kraken, Anton Forsberg got a shutout against them for his. This is the second time he's had a shutout against the Kraken in as many seasons. It's always nice to have a shutout, obviously. Always super nice to see them bounce back the way that we had from tonight to yesterday, said Forsberg, who had 22 shots. Who stopped 22 shots. This is his second shutout of the season after a 31 save effort against the Utah Hockey Club. He's now made 6 starts in 2024 after Linus Ullmark was signed to a 4-year, $33 million contract before he's missed a handful of games with a strain injury. So, big ticket signing at $8.25 million for 4 years for the Sens. Looks like their backup goalie is getting the opportunity to shine.
How often does that happen?
Right.
Let's talk to the Jets and 7 goals in one game over the Lightning, 7-4.
Yeah, and 7 different scorers as well, which makes the feat all the more amazing. This is a team that has an incredibly balanced attack. This is something I know that we've discussed previously about how well they distribute the puck and how well everything moves around. The Winnipeg Jets are now 11-1-0. That 1-L being against the Toronto Maple Leafs 4 games ago, which inspired Toronto fans to start planning the parade. But it's the Jets, Panthers, and Wild 1, 2, and 3 in the NHL. followed closely by the Rangers and the Golden Knights. Toronto's languishing down in 12th, tied with Tampa Bay and Dallas.
Yeah, it's the Leafs are on the nice edge when it comes to making the playoffs. The Canucks, Suter scores twice.
So Suter scored 2 goals as the Canucks beat the Sharks 3-2. Jake DeBrusk also scored for Vancouver. Michael Granlund had the tying goal for the Sharks with 1:17 to go, and Nico Sturm also scored. Mackenzie Blackwood had 28 saves on the night. After a 6-0 loss to the Devils on Wednesday, Vancouver had a really good bounce back game, especially over a surging Sharks team. Timothy Liljegren, ex Maple Leaf legend, who some of you may remember from his time in Toronto, played nearly 17 minutes in his debut. He's looking to have more playing time with the rebuilding Sharks than he did with the Toronto Maple Leafs, so that's good for him. Granlund's goal, by the way, was an empty netter, which temporarily tied the game at 2-2. But Suter got a slap shot past Blackwood off a feed by Connor Garland for the winner late in the third period.
We've got the Leafs. Parayko scores twice. Broberg hurt. Blues beat Leafs 4-2 on Saturday.
So, yeah, as you mentioned, Colton Parayko got 2. Jordan Kyrou had a goal. As the Leafs fell to the St. Louis Blues on Saturday night. That helped the Blues break a 3-game losing skid. Pavel Buchnevich also had an empty net goal with 39 seconds remaining, and Jordan Bennington made 35 saves. Mitch Marner and Steve Lorentz each scored their second goals of the season for the Maple Leafs. This was Berube's first game in St. Louis since being fired back in December 2023. As much as you would have wanted for them to have a better game, the Leafs did actually dominate early after Marner's goal, exchanging St. Louis 12-4 in the first period. But the Blues got 3 goals for the first time since winning 5-1 at Toronto back in October 24.
Yeah, well, if only the Leafs could find a goal scorer or a playmaker.
It's a shame, isn't it? It's just a shame.
The next game really pointed that out. They lost in OT 2-1.
Yeah. Matt Boldy got the breakaway goal 2:14 and into overtime to lift the Wild to a 2-1 win over the Leafs. I would be lying if I didn't say that I saw this happening. And I'm going to tell you exactly the moment I knew it was happening. It was when the puck got flipped over the defenseman's head, and then Domi tapped it, but just a little too far. And I saw the 2 other Maple Leafs players head off the ice, and I said to myself, they're coming back and scoring. It's going to happen. And sure enough, recover the puck, get it to the forwards deep, and bam, that was it. Now, it's a shame that they're this predictable.
Well, making mistakes is unfortunately in sports. That's what you can't do. You have to be committed to not making mistakes and understand how not to make mistakes. Unfortunately, the Leafs have this thing about timing. Their mistakes have bad timing. A lot of if they get into overtime and they play well, they can score and win. But it seems when they don't, it's because of mistakes that they make in overtime. It's not that the other team makes a great play; it's that the Leafs don't. They make the opposite. They make a bad play. They've been the victims of their own. Well, they've been hoisted by their own petard. It's just what they do. And this power play is. I don't know if they need somebody new to operate the power play, if they need somebody new in the power play. But when you don't have a dearth of really talented players on your team, when you have a short list of players that you consider really good and they're all on the power play, who do you replace them with?
Yeah, and they've had Guy Boucher at the working the power play. They've had him since July 2023.
It's not working.
I don't know.
Is it the coach's fault? Is it the players he has?
I mean, you got to look at Mark Savard as well, because he's another guy that's in there quarterbacking the offense for this sort of thing, at least on the whiteboard. But yeah, I mean, the Leafs are second worst in the NHL right now. They have managed to upgrade their power play success percentage to 10%, which
It
is
still doesn't raise them very high, and
right above Buffalo. They're still just ahead of Buffalo when it comes to power play percentage. So it's this is going to be an ongoing question this year: is can they solve their power play woes?
yeah, and will that power play's lack of success literally drag this team out of the playoffs? Drag them out of the playoffs,
It's entirely possible.
right? And special teams are so important. We always talk about special teams, and of course in the playoffs, but special teams matter as well. Um, you know, in the regular season.
No, for sure. And this is something we're 12 games in now with a new coach. Um, I'm not 100% sure exactly where we're 13 games in. Sorry, I'm not exactly sure where we're expected to be. I mean, yes, I'd like to be at the top when it comes to power play percentage and penalty kill percentage, but new schema, new defenseman, 10 players in, 7 players out, new coaching staff. There is a certain amount of patience, but eventually that's going to have to end.
I think the most important question is, why aren't the star players the stars of this team?
Yeah.
Because to me, that's the real question that needs to be asked. Why aren't the players who they're high paid players not playing like high paid players? You can't expect $1 million a year players to carry this team. And unfortunately, with the salary of the players that get paid the big bucks, there's not much left for anybody other than that, and this is something many of us saw coming, and actually last year them making the playoffs for me was a little bit of a surprise, and I'll be more surprised this year if they make the playoffs. I will be more surprised because they really don't have enough talent on the team that they can afford to not have the talent they do have, not support the team's success. So
As it currently stands, their top four are their top four. Marner, Nylander, Tavares, and Matthews are all their top 4 point getters. Um, you know,
but
but you expect
they're-
Austin to have
they're-
more goals.
well,
You know,
you expect them to be better than the bottom quarter of the league.
yeah, yeah. I mean, you
That's
could
just
look at
it.
it that way.
They are what they are, and and losing like they has been something that the fans may not
Mm.
like. But it's still early in the season. It's not like they're way behind in the playoff hunt or race. They're on the edge, but it is something to behold to see this team, um, you know, play the way they are playing, and I can imagine it's disappointing for the players themselves that it's not playing out the way they know they can play, and that's got to be. I know they have pride that way. We've seen Nylander break a stick or two, unhappy with the way things are going. So they want it to be better. So you can't ask. That's something you don't have to ask for. It's just a question of them being able to do it.
For sure.
All right, Aaron. Thanks for doing this.
Not a problem, Frank. Always glad to be here. Is that your phone or mine? Ah, anyways, folks, thanks for tuning in. You can catch us on Zingo TV channels 249 and 250, and on a Smart TV 2016 and newer. So take care, and we'll see you all on Wednesday.